They don't want closure without answers.
We will be left forever with nothing but the sickening, rancid fiction of the news industry. Bryan Kohberger taking a plea in the Idaho 4 case? Really? If so, what are the top 10 things we will never know about what happened the night of November 13th, 2022? If this is all true, there's a lot of stuff we may or may not ever know about the Idaho 4 case. Joining me to help me figure it all out is Kelsey. Kelsey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in. This is just the biggest mystery, whether he takes the plea or not, whether the court accepts it or not. This is big news, don't you think?
I do.
So let's try and figure out, what is this all about? What is the plea all about? Here are the terms of the plea agreement that Mr. Kohberger pleads guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder, that he also pleads to the felony burglary charges. His sentence will be life in prison, 4 consecutive life sentences in prison. He would waive his right to appeal, and he would never be eligible for parole. So those are the essential, top terms of the plea agreement, and I don't know, a lot of unknowns about this. First thing is the families of the victims, as far as we know, are not happy. Steve Goncalves, who we've talked to before on this podcast and who I put out a feeler to, and he has ghosted this channel, but this is what Steve Goncalves, the father of Kaylee Goncalves, of course, has said. It's true. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. So apparently what happened was the week before we're recording this podcast, the defense, Ann Taylor, went to the prosecution and said, what do you want to do with this case? And the prosecution came back with this proposal. And over the weekend, Mr. Goncalves and all of the other parents of all of the other 4 victims came through, and they got communications saying this is what was going to happen. So this is our midweek episode where we, Kaylee, this is what we do in the midweek. Usually we go over our viewer comments. We, as you know a lot more about social media and podcasting than I do, don't you?
Maybe a little.
So what we do, correct me if I'm wrong, we do substantive look backs of what's happened the week before in cases on weekends. But then during the week, we take a look at what our viewers have commented. Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
It's a great idea.
Okay. So why don't we look at what our viewers have said since the idea of this proposed plea agreement has come out, and also with respect to our last episode in which we talked about the DoorDash driver and some other things. Our number 10 viewer comment was Jeff Sherlock. With this plea deal, we will now learn absolutely nothing. Zilch. With no trial, we will not officially learn of anything at all. There will be no testimony from anyone. There will be no evidence. There will be no descriptions. There will be no timelines. Whatever the police may have, we will never know about. With the asinine laws, can we say that on YouTube? Asinine? They censor us for some words. But I've already said at least one of them. With those laws, we will never learn anything from Kohberger either. We will be left forever with nothing but the sickening, rancid fiction of the news industry. Wow, that's pretty strongly worded, but, I guess I have to say that I kind of agree. Do you agree with that?
I do agree, and if he takes the plea, what are some things we will never know?
Yeah, this is something that's been going on since November of 2022, and they captured Mr. Kohberger in Pennsylvania at the end of 2022, so that's 23, 24. Now we're exactly at the midpoint of 2025. So in 2.5 years, a lot of questions have been raised, and I'm just wondering, do you think we'll ever have answers for any of them?
If he takes the plea, we won't.
Not right away, anyhow, unless there is, some comment during a colloquy asking him about that. But we'll never know, for example, what really happened inside that night, the night of November 13th of 2022. We'll never really know exactly what happened.
Or was Maddie the target and the others were just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because people have speculated. Some people thought, no, it wasn't Maddie, that it was Kaylee, but others have said, no, it was Maddie. And so the other question, what about Xana and Ethan? Were they unintended victims that night? Was whoever did this, and if Mr. Kohberger is now admitting that he did it, was his target, the girls upstairs, and were Xana and Ethan just in the wrong place at the wrong time?
And had Kohberger been inside that house before? They said it was a party house, so he could have been inside multiple times.
Yeah, there were people that were coming and going, and there was video of the police going for noise complaints. And so, there were so many people in that house. Did anybody even notice him? And the other question was he inside because some people have suggested that was he no longer clean, and was he inside to make a buy?
That could be a possibility too.
The other question is, what about Bethany Funk's alleged exculpatory information? Remember, way back in the very beginning of the case, only a few months in, it was alleged by an affidavit of an investigator that Bethany Funk had exculpatory information, but she didn't want to, go to Idaho for a hearing. Apparently, they were in the throes of working out an agreement where she could, appear by Zoom or court call, electronically. But it never came to pass, because then they indicted Mr. Kohberger, and so there was no need for her to appear at a hearing.
Exactly. And what was the final straw for Mr. Kohberger and his attorney, Ann Taylor? Some smoking gun that we do not know about because it had been sealed in all of the discovery.
Yeah, we don't know. There's been so many rounds of discovery, and it's all been sealed. And we have actually requested some of it, and we were told, no, you can't have it. No. So I don't know. Was there something hidden? I mean, this year in 2025, we found out about the balaclava head covering. We found out about the K-bar knife, the sheath, and the sharpener. We found out about the 911 call. We found out about the texts between the girls that night, Bethany and Dylan. So a lot new has come out, and those were kind of groundbreakers. So what else was in there that was so shocking that Ann Taylor and Mr. Kohberger, what was in there that Ann Taylor and Bryan Kohberger decided to plea out? It's a mystery.
And the K-bar, where is it? Yeah,
really. Was that even the weapon? We don't know. They found the sheath, but we don't know. How long had the November 13th, 2022 hit been planned? Some people have suggested that maybe he planned it before he moved to Idaho. Others have said, oh, no, he didn't plan it until he moved to Idaho in the summer of 2022. But we don't know.
What's the relationship between Kohberger's studies in criminology and the fact that he acted on it in this atrocious crime?
That's a really good question. I mean, millions of, people say that, he was studying criminology, and, there was a connection. He wrote a paper and he did a Reddit survey. But I mean, so many people study criminology. A lot of people study criminology, and there's a reason they do it. They have an interest. They want to go into law enforcement or some other area where it's relevant. So, what was the relationship? How was it that there was no DNA left inside of that house other than the little tiny bit on the sheath, the touch DNA on the sheath? And how come there was no DNA on his car? I mean, of course, it was 6 weeks later after the crime that Mr. Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania. But, wouldn't you think that, some body liquid, blood or something would of the victims after an atrocious act like this, wouldn't there have been something in the car?
Exactly. And most importantly, what would Kohberger say to the families?
Yeah, not that they would accept anything. I mean, if you're a parent, I can't even put myself in the position of a parent of a college student that this happened to. I can't put myself in that position, and so they wouldn't accept anything. But what would he say? What would he say? I mean, we've seen sentencing hearings and he'll be sentenced if the plea goes through. He'll be sentenced in late July. But what would he say? And would they care one way or the other what he would say? I mean, It's crazy. So why don't we go back to our viewer comments? That's what we do in this episode. And here's number 9.
Number 9, Sleepmore8587 said, I can't believe he took the plea. These poor kids deserve real justice and a trial. I agree with that.
Yeah, a trial is, and we shouldn't take this into consideration. A trial is a major event in one's professional life. I mean, you have to prepare for the trial.
Yeah.
You have to line up your witnesses, and no matter how prepared you are, and I don't care how experienced a trial attorney anybody watching this show is, they will admit that there are surprises in every trial. There are as prepared as you can possibly be. You and your staff may have spent hours and hours and hours pouring through the documents and speaking to your potential witnesses, but there's always surprises. It's always a stressful time, but that shouldn't be the reason that a case is being pled out. It's just, it's tough after 2.5 years of speculation and thought and evidence and non-evidence. It is hard to believe it. I have a gut feeling about this case. I'll share it in the end if you remember to ask me. I have a gut feeling about this, but anyhow. 8, David Gonzalez says, could he plead nolo without admitting guilt? Delusionally? No, I don't know. In a minor case, yes. In a minor case, there's a nolo plea or an Alford plea in which one potentially admits to sufficient facts. And a nolo plea allows the court to enter a plea of guilty, because basically nolo means I'm not entering a plea. So I doubt that would happen in this case. You don't know. So I don't think so.
Number 7, Twisted Sister 4467. Well, now with this deal, Mr. Green can continue to run his university as if nothing happened, just like when he had the house demolished. There's nothing to see here, folks. Just move along.
Yeah, that goes back to Mr. Green, the president of the University of Idaho in Moscow, early on, had said, first of all, Mr. Green sat in on law enforcement hearings, in the beginning twice a day. And then he sat in, and then his underlings at the university, the top administrators, sat in on those hearings. And he was the one that wanted the house demolished. He had ended up owning the house. And he faced an awful lot of criticism, especially when he wrote a book and included a very lengthy chapter on this. And people said, is that right, that a university president is writing a book and making money about this? So this is I think what a lot of people are thinking. Twisted Sister, wasn't that a rock band?
Something.
I'm sure one of our viewers will let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Number 6, Jimmy Williams, 9824 says, now the DoorDash driver won't be needed. Her charges may not be dropped. I don't know. I don't think any of us really know what's going to happen with that. She had been a regular. She had been stopped. She said that she knew or was friends with, actually were her words, Bill Thompson. So there were a lot of people commenting about her.
Number 5, our son Envy said, one thing of note, he was a criminal justice major and wrote a paper detailing how to do a clean crime. And Sherry Rhodes, 5673, said that explains lack of DNA, but he went to a doctor a few days after and was stated in court he had 0 wounds or bruises. I find it hard to believe he wouldn't even have a bruise, since they said there was an obvious battle with Xana and Ethan.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's hard to understand. It's really hard to understand. And I've never felt that Mr. Kohberger accomplished this crime by himself, but that's speculation we've talked about before, and it's left for another day. Number 4 from AZZZRR3ES. The state has been digging for over 2 years to find something to connect Mr. Kohberger to this crime. They are making it up at this point. No knife, no video of his car, no phone, no blood, no connection to the victims, no history of violence, nothing but an ever-changing narrative from them. Now we are to believe that Molly saw BK clearly enough to identify him at night when both were in their cars, and he came fully covered so as not to leave DNA, and she is generally a little ditzy due to the meds. I mean, we should add this to our list of the top things that we'll never know. I don't know. Will somebody write a book? Will people, once the non-dissemination order is lifted, if it is lifted, will some of the attorneys come out and speak? Will some of the office staff that know a lot at the Attorney General's office or the Moscow prosecutor's office or in the defender's office? Remember that the state of Idaho is paying for the entire legal matter. Obviously, the Latah County prosecutors are public employees. The Attorney General is public employees. And Ann Taylor, her office, and all of the defense attorneys are being paid by the taxpayers of Idaho. So a lot of people that could potentially share things with us.
Number 3, Lada Dog 3977 said long-suffering Molly is well known to Bill Thompson. After the release of the 911 call and the accounting of the texting between the girls was released, it became obvious that Dylan would not be a credible eyewitness. I believe this circumstantial case was looking very doubtful, so the prosecution coordinated media leaks for the time right before jury selection and sent an officer to pick up sketchy Molly and scare her into eyewitnessing utterance.
Yeah, that was a question on everybody's mind. I mean, she was only known to Bill Thompson because she got pulled over a lot. And, you know, sad but true, her husband was shot right in front of her eyes, and that was back in 2013, and Bill Thompson was there for that prosecution. So she said they were friends. I don't know if they were friends. Appreciate your fair and balanced assessment. So sick of hearing how BK nefariously went shopping at Albertsons the next day after these murders, as if that proved he was guilty. So insane to me. They think they can put scary music over any fact and people will think it's true. That's true. That documentaries really kind of manipulate people. You know, documentaries, you know, with the sound effects and with the scary kind of visuals that they interpose and the scary music. I don't think a lot of people, after they watch a documentary, realize that they've been manipulated into thinking one thing or another. Do you?
No, I don't think they realize it.
And then our number one,
Cookie Caroline. Andrew, I really like your style and your positive personality and energy makes me smile. I really love the hard and open-minded conversations you have on this channel. Even some people scream at you in the comments. Know that you are appreciated. Sunny hello from Finland.
Wow, somebody from Finland. That's great. It is true. 90% of our comments are positive on this channel. 90% of our comments are positive. Maybe 95%. I've never done a scientific study, but just, you know, I do read all the comments. And I do know that by and large, people like us, people like our channel. But yeah, every now and then you get one. People do scream at us in the comments and they don't like something. Somebody comment. This is a temporary studio, by the way. We're building a whole new studio. And the background is just a Mexican blanket that I did bring back from Mexico, actually, although you can buy them at stores. But it's temporary, folks. It's temporary. You don't. And oh my God, some of the other comments that we get. You know, how could you be a lawyer if you think that? Well, you know, you put 5 lawyers in a room, you're going to get 5 different answers. So I don't know. But this is from Finland, which is kind of cool. In the Karen Reed case, we kept track and we had comments from 74 different countries. So we're going to start now, even though, you know, with the potential plea, you know, I think there will be a lot of attention to this case. So comment and tell us what country you're commenting from and what state and U.S. territory. In the Karen Reed case, we had 74 different countries that had people that commented or asked us questions in all 50 states. So towards the end of every episode we do on this, we do remind people that, you know, this is the focus has been on what happened on Mr. Kohberger and the others, but we have to remind everybody that the case is about the 4 victims in the Idaho 4, the 4 college students, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, and Xana Kernodle. And we just need to remind people that that's, you know, that's what the case is all about. Will there be justice for them? Will there be justice at all? You know, I don't know. So what are your impressions? What are your impressions in closing thoughts, Kelsey?
Well, you said you had to remind you of your gut feeling that you had.
Oh, you remembered that. Oh, my gosh. I don't know. When the news first broke about this case, I was in a legal seminar. I have to get certain CLE credits, and it had nothing to do with this case. So I'm sitting there in the seminar, and I'm paying attention to the material and the good attorneys who were teaching it. And a friend of mine started texting me, and I was only kind of half paying attention, but my friend was like texting me over and over again about, did you hear that Bryan Kohberger is pleading out? I said, no, he is not. When you get bad news, often the first stage is denial. So
Yeah.
I said, no, he's not. No. And then my second stage was, you know what? These networks do get stuff wrong. They've been wrong about stuff in this case, and they didn't retract it, but they've been wrong. In the Karen Reed case, one of the local big TV stations in Boston actually went on the air saying there was ring cam video of Karen backing into John O'Keefe. Well, that was untrue. So I'm very skeptical. I don't believe stuff I see in the networks. I don't believe it. But then later on, the more I read into the story later in the evening, I found out that the Goncalves family and some of the other families and Shannon Gray, their attorney, actually confirmed that they had received documentation notifying them that there was to be a plea bargain. But we're dropping this the day before the actual plea bargain. And a lot of stuff has to happen at a plea bargain. And I just don't know. The judge has to approve it. The judge has to approve a plea bargain. And the judge will do a colloquy just to make sure that Mr. Kohberger is making this decision of his own free will, that no one coerced him, that his attorney didn't pressure him, that this is his decision, not the attorney's, that this is truly what he wants, that there's been no external pressure exerted upon him, that there were no promises made to him. He hasn't been sentenced. Prior to the plea bargain, there's an agreement. What happens is in this case, apparently the prosecution proposed at the defense's request this plea bargain, and then the defense agreed to it. That's a proposal. It has to go to the judge who will perform this colloquy that I'm talking about. And one of the other many questions that the judge will ask Mr. Kohberger is, are you on any prescription drugs, other drugs, alcohol that would affect your ability to think clearly? So the judge performs his colloquy, and it's up to the judge. Now, this judge, many people, including myself, have felt that this judge was just a little biased towards the prosecution. So the likelihood is that, he'll accept this. And maybe by the time most of our audience is viewing this, it will be a done deal. But you know what? Right now, as we sit here, it's not a done deal. And so we don't know. And my gut feeling is there's something just not right about this. There's something that's just not right about this. After a year and a half, Ann Taylor would go over to him and put her arm on him and say, oh, he's not guilty. Well, every defendant is entitled to a presumption of innocence, and that's true. And you can have a belief that he's not guilty, whether you believe it sincerely or not. And yes, it's ethical for a defense attorney to not totally believe in it, as long as they respect fully and completely in open court the presumption of innocence. And so I just have a gut feeling this might not go through. That's my gut feeling. I've been wrong before. I've been wrong.
I guess we just got to wait and see.
Yeah, we just don't know. I have a feeling that something's just not right about this. I just have a feeling. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but we will see. Kelsey, thanks for joining me. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay, so my final thought is, the parents of the victims aren't very happy about this. Xana's aunt has made a statement that, she doesn't think that this is right. And I think a lot of it is that a lot of people just don't feel that it's right to not have a trial. The real point of a trial is to, bring out all the evidence and allow a jury to weigh all the evidence and determine if the state has met its burden of proof beyond all reasonable doubt. That's the purpose of a trial. And the families, I understand where they're coming from, but they wanted to learn what really happened. They want to see the evidence. They want to know, what happened, the answer to the questions that we asked earlier, and many more, many more. There's just so many questions. That's why the families are not happy. But
I think it comes down to they don't want closure without answers. And if he takes the plea, there's going to be closure, but no answers.
Yeah. One would hope that, and we know from talking to Mr. Goncalves in the past, one would hope that someone somewhere in a victim's advocate office or somewhere else, information would have been fed to them. Certain information was fed earlier in the case, and so the parents do know more than us. But when some of the parents started, talking on the major networks, my understanding is that channel of information was cut off. So if the plea deal goes through and it's accepted, whether that channel is reopened and the parents are told more remains to be seen. But that's it. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this, be sure to go down below. I always get my sides mixed up down there. Like, subscribe. Be sure to subscribe. We are aiming for 100,000 by the end of the year, and I know that's a huge goal, which we may not achieve, but tell your friends, like, subscribe, share, and have a good one.
Whether you are in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comments section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.